Okay, now let's talk about the pros and cons of swing trading. So first thing, right? Swing trading, the pros is that it has a higher winning rate, right? Because you are consistent in capturing your swing, right, from one trade to another, and you are usually exiting your trade before opposing pressure steps in. So your winning rate should be higher. The downside to swing trading is that you are unable to ride trends, and that's because you will exit your trade at a predetermined target. And if let's say the market, exceeds your that target and continues right moving in that same direction, you will be on the sidelines, right, unable to reap profits from it because you have already exited that position. Okay, so this brings us to the next type of trading, which is trend following, and this is for you if you want to ride trends in the market. So what is trend following, right? It's in essence, right, trying to ride a trend. So it's different from swing trading where you're just capturing one move. No, riding a trend, right, is trying to capture the meat of the trend, right, to ride the waves, right, as it continues to go higher. And to do that, right, you will use a trailing stop loss. So there are different types of trailing stop loss out there. The one I'm going to teach you is a moving average trailing stop loss. So depending on the type of trends that you want to capture, whether it's short term, medium term, or long term trend, right, you can use different moving average parameters, right, to meet your needs. So in essence, right, what you are going to do is that let's say the market is trending higher. Okay, you're going to overlay this trend with a moving average, something like this over here. And as long as the price is above the moving average here, you will continue to hold the trade. Only if the price, pulls back and then finally closes, let's say the candle closes below the moving average, right? Then you exit the trade when it closes below this moving average. If not, you continue holding the trade, right, and see how much of a trend you can capture. And which moving average parameter to use depends, on what you want, whether you want to capture a short-term trend, medium-term trend, or a long-term trend. So if you want to capture a short-term trend, right, you can exit the trade when the price closes below the 20-period moving average. If you want to ride a medium-term trend, you can exit when it closes below the 50-period moving average. And if a long-term trend, you can exit when the price closes below the 100-period moving average. So there's no best moving average settings here, right? In case you're wondering, some of you might be thinking, oh, okay, Rainer, so which moving average is the best to ride a trend? There isn't, right? Unfortunately. So there's pros and cons to trying to ride a short-term or long-term trend. So for short-term trend, right, the downside is that you might get stopped out of your trade too early, right? Maybe it could be just a pullback, but because it already hits your short-term trailing stop loss, you are out of the trade. But the good thing is that, for trying to ride short-term trend, right, you don't really have to endure too much pain because the depth of the pullback is usually quite shallow that you have to endure. And if you endure any further, you are already stopped out. Compared to, let's say, a long-term trend, right, the good thing about long-term trend is that it keeps you in the trade longer. So even if the pullback can be deeper, there's a good chance that you can still be able to ride it out and continue riding the trend. The downside, right, to riding a long-term trend is that it's going to be more painful because you can see that the amount of open profits that you have to give back, right, while trying to ride the long-term trend is a lot more. So when the pullback occurs, right, you will see your open profits get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it can be emotionally, right, more difficult, right, because you watch a huge chunk of your profits, get returned back. So there's kind of like the pros and cons to, short-term trend following and longer-term trend following. And again, there's no right or wrong. You have to find the one that suits you best. So just to illustrate a quick chart example, so let's say this is the chart of Brent crude oil. Okay, if you, let's say for whatever reason, maybe you got long somewhere about here, let me just change. Let's say you got long for whatever reason, right? I don't know what the reason is. That's not important. Let's say you buy somewhere here and the market moves in your favor. So you can see that if you overlay for 20-period moving average, you will be pretty much, exiting your trade probably when this candle breaks and closes below this 20-period moving average. So you can capture, pretty much this portion of the move. And if you go with, let's say, a 50-period moving average, you can see that you are in the trade longer because when this candle closed bearishly, right, it did not close below the 50-period moving average. So you can see, right, that you're actually in this trade, right, you're able to withstand more pain, in other words, right, by using a slightly longer term moving average. In this case, you would have, exit the trade over here on this candle when the price breaks and closes below this 50-period moving average. And finally, if you go with a 100-period moving average, in this case, you can see that you can endure even more pain, right? And you will be pretty much still in this trade, right? You wouldn't have gotten stopped out on this pullback here. You will have to, kind of withstand that pain and then eventually watch the market bounce back in your favor. So again, I'm not here to say, whether the 20-period moving average is best, the 50 or the 100. This is something that you have to decide and be comfortable with for yourself, right? And to decide, what type of trend you want to capture, whether is it long-term, short-term, or medium term. And that's how trend following works. And you have to be comfortable, right, with giving back your open profits. Because, for example, if you saw earlier the 50 period moving average one, right, you are not going to exit. You're not going to be like a swing trader where you manage to exit, right, let's say before this swing high over here. Okay, you're only exiting your trade after the market has pulled back and moved against you. So you can imagine at one point in time, right, your open profits, right, is at a maximum, right, around this high over here where the market is really bullish in your favor. And you saw your open profit slowly dwindle and then, decrease, right, as the pullback occurs. So this is something that as a trend follower, you have to be prepared as well. This is the only way, right, you will ride the trend is by to be able to give back open profits. That is kind of like the cost of being a trend follower. So with that said, right, let's talk about the pros and cons of trend following. The pros is that you can ride massive trends, okay, and it can be a huge profit potential for you. The downside to it is low winning rate because you're always, right, trying to attempt to ride the trend using a trailing stop loss, right. You will only exit the trade after the market has moved against you. So this usually results in a lower winning rate compared to a swing trader. So really, it depends on the type of person you are. If you hate being wrong, right, then swing trading is probably for you. But on the other hand, if you're someone that really wants to ride trends, right, you can't stand missing out on trends, then trend following is probably for you. But you have to embrace, right, the so-called downside that comes along with it, namely a lower winning rate. So let's do a quick recap, shall we? First, we spoke about stop loss, right, and how you want to set it at a proper level which invalidates your trading setup. And the technique I shared with you is to set your stop loss 1 ATR beyond the area of value. Then we spoke about different types of exits if the market moves in your favor. For swing trading, you want to exit before opposing pressure steps in. And finally, we spoke about trend following, trailing your stop loss to ride a trend. Okay, I get it now. You are probably feeling overwhelmed, right? What is this, Rainer? Market structure, area value, Avengers, absent for exam, what's going on? So I get it, right? You are overwhelmed. You might even be, a bit confused. But don't worry, because in the next section, right, I will share with you, right, how you can actually utilize all those different concepts, strategies, and techniques that you have just learned, right, to trade the markets. In fact, right, my own trading strategy, right, is based on all these concepts that I've just shared with you. I will share with you, how to actually use it, right, to profit in bull and bear market. So all this and more in the next section. Breathe in, breathe out. Let's go.